Thank you very much, Sharks. Welcome back. Fnatic and GRX are setting up. I love that. If we're going to give up one loss, it's going to be to 100 Thieves. I think a little bit of a troller response, obviously meaning he doesn't want to lose to Fnatic. Is that all right?
It makes sense from the standings because if they lose to Fnatic, then they would have to play a tiebreaker. If they lose to 100 Thieves and beat Fnatic, then they still get first.
Well, there we go. That's the plan. As we're getting set up for the third game of the day, Fnatic will be playing their second, as will GRX. Whippo is in, Soaz is out, Bebe is in, Empty is out. So substitutions on both rosters. We will be able to get some Whippo faces on camera, and he had a fantastic performance. The last time they played, GRX attempted to dive top, and Whippo almost outplayed them 1v2.
So I think one of the values of bringing both Whippo and Bebe in is obviously the quarterfinal spots have been locked in. The whole point of this game for Fnatic is that they want to maintain a solid record. They need all their wins if they want to have that tiebreaker against Invictus Gaming. And for GRX, they obviously want to go out with a bang. So giving in more of their players that stage time, giving them that valuable experience is good. But also I think it's good to get Whippo warmed up because who they decide to use for the Invictus Gaming match is still up for debate. And depending on what style they want to go for, whether they want the more aggressive Whippo or more of the stable, solid rock that is Soaz, will heavily depend on how they play in these early matchups.
We are getting ready for picks and bans, and Fnatic are on the blue side. Whippo is just getting himself into the zone. So, Vedius, what would you like to see out of the team? Brox is Lee Sin. He went 7-0-8 the last time he played GRX. We talked about it. I talked about it excessively at the top of the day. What would you like to see from Fnatic coming up against GRX?
So, I would actually like to see Whippo put on a big carry. Not in the sense of, one of these off-tanks like Aatrox, Urgot. I want to see him on something like an Aurelia or an Akali. And I want to see them leverage one of the advantages that blue side has, which is some of these flex picks in Akali, Aurelia. Just because if Whippo is that aggressive playmaker, and someone you can rely on to be a carry, then let's prove it. Let's see what he's capable of in this game, where you can get him warming up and what he's truly capable of.
I was going to say a similar thing, but with different words here. Attack PK. He just got demolished by Duke in the Aatrox Urgot matchup, and Broxa has been very effective in the early game. So let's see. Even with the jungle switch here, though, Bebe now in for GRX. They talked a little bit about they used him a lot in summer, and during that time, he was the better mechanical player. He was quicker with the key presses, literally. So we'll see if he can bring that here to the stage. He hasn't had the same success on the world stage as he had in the LMS, though.
And of course, now with absolutely no pressure and only the ability to play spoiler, is this the time that GRX can cause the upset? Take a look at the bans. Thresh, Alistair, Urgot, Akali, Sivir, as well as Aatrox. That means yet another Irelia blind pick, but it does fit that narrative we've talked about. It is a flex option if Whippo wants to take it, and the Lovers duo of Xayah and Rakan locked in for GRX.
Now this brings into question, does Hylissang play Leona? Or would he choose to go for more of a comfort pick and Pike? Now, the thing about Rakan is that I feel you could play both, and we're actually yet to see Hylissang bring out his fabled Pike. But instead, he's going to go for more of the defensive option. Maybe he wants to hold the cards closer to his chest.
Door number 3 is going to be the man who holds the door, Braum here for Fnatic, and it is going to back up. Of course, we glossed over the first pick, Aurelia for Fnatic, for Caps. Again, around this guy in the mid lane. He's gone for dives. He always goes for the early kill. And that could still be a possibility in this game going up against Candy. Second one rounded out here, though, with the Ezreal for Reckless. That will give him, the Mystic Shock poke, of course, trying to stay back until he can get his first recall.
And so with the LeBlanc locked in for Candy, this kind of puts Fnatic in a situation where if they want to draft the Aurelia, I don't think this is the worst matchup. I think it's a bit of a skill matchup between the two mid laners. But alternatively, in the event that that Aurelia is topside, LeBlanc is considered a pretty safe blind. And you'll see that with the Lissandra ban coming in as well, they're saying, all right, Fnatic, if you want to pick something else, I feel we're actually going to have a pretty solid matchup going for this blind LeBlanc.
Meanwhile, for GRX, what we said in their last game, so much about Stitch, so much about trying to get some carry opportunities here for them early and from around the bottom lane. This is definitely a great duo for them to go with. Rakan, increased playmaking ability with the Xayah, and they have to respect the level 2. So much damage output you can get with that combo. That's why Fnatic, I think, have drafted such a safe bottom lane here. Ezreal and Braum, a lot of mobility even early in the game.
And let's see where the junglers decide to go. With the Lee Sin, the Camille, the Nocturne taken off the table. We've seen Xin Zhao actually featured in the ban pool fairly heavily and will not be locked in just yet. Going to be securing that safe top laner in Sion once more, and that will be secured for PK. So now Fnatic have to tell us, where does this Irelia go and what will Broxah be running in the jungle?
Well, he can already tell you what he's running in the jungle, Trevor. That's going to be the Xin Zhao. Very early game focused compositions from both sides. Fnatic more than happy to grab that one for themselves. A couple of cheeky hovers there from Hylissang as he runs through some potential options. And we still don't know whether or not this Irelia is mid or top. You would expect it to be in the mid lane, and they could round their draft out with an Ornn. Offers a little bit of engage for the composition and is something that Bwipo would play a lot of during the regular season.
And it was the same champion that he used the last time they played. Instead, it is the Swain, still technically the swap. So Kobe, who's going to call the bluff here on the side of GRX?
Ooh! What's your bluff that you're talking about? I see no bluff. I think it's going to be the Swain here for Caps in the mid lane into the LeBlanc. Try and build up some defenses there. As long as you don't get bursted down, Swain has huge zoning for the team fights. But more exciting, we got a Nidalee in the game. This champion can clear so quickly if you get an early lead. So we'll see if Bebe now subbing in for GRX can try and get them their first win on the board.
Now, one of the cool things I love about Nidalee is her ability to get into the enemy jungle, steal away their camps, and then get out extremely quickly. The only way she can do that, though, is if she has pressure in the lanes. And given that they've drafted a LeBlanc, they've drafted a Zyra Khan, you would expect that, especially towards the bottom side of the map, GRX would be in a comfortable position to allow Bebe to get those invades. But when we wanted to see Empty being aggressive, he got shut down. So the question is, will Bebe have a more healthy, fun, not dying early game compared to his jungle counterpart from IG?
Meanwhile, the Swain was switched with Irelia, so Caps once again will be taking that Irelia into the mid lane, looking for the heads up versus LeBlanc. See which one of those two can get the early kill. Both, of course, will take Ignite and look to fight.
So you're saying they did call their bluff in the other hand then?
I don't think it was a bluff.
Well, let's see how this early game plays out. We had high expectations for GRX in the previous game against Invictus, and it did not go as expected. And of course, for Fnatic, they really styled on GRX the last time these two teams played. Fnatic are confirmed for the quarterfinals. The question is, what seed and in what manner will the European representatives head to the playoffs? Let's take a look at how this early game starts off. Kleptomancy for Bwipo and Reckless, both starting with their teleports. And that's a little bit of a nuance that I'm not used to seeing.
I mean, Bwipo, he played so many mages for Fnatic in the regular season going bottom lane. He runs right out of the gate through the bottom lane this time around.
Yeah, that's the ultimate bluff, Trevor. It turns out Bwipo's bot lane, Reckless in the top lane, Fnatic going crazy.
Solo lane, Ezreal to the top. No, okay. So he is probably just setting up here as a level 1. You know, they're fishing around for possible plays from GRX. I like that because level 1s have had pretty big impact.
Oh, yeah.
In group stage here, best of ones when you're looking for those upset possibilities. And so they're just kind of checking all their bases. Of course, the Swain with Kleptomancy, very good into the Sion as you can get your damage off through the minion wave as well as getting your auto attacks down at the same time to farm up, get as much value out of your Kleptomancy on that melee champion as possible. Sion, of course, once the E was gutted, the shout relies a lot more on Q-Max, trying to hit that channel and go for those AoEs.
So I'm keeping my eyes on where the junglers are starting. We'll see that for Bebe and PK, they're starting up towards the top side of the map, whereas Broxah is doing a solo clear down towards the bot. Now this is important for Reckless and Hylissang because against Zyra Khan, this is a difficult matchup. They want to get to the lane as soon as possible, but of course, Stitch and Koala don't have to pull either. So that lane will be pretty neutral as actually Reckless gets that early push. But keep your eyes on which direction Bebe chooses to go for, because he's actually moving up towards the Krugs, a jungle path that we've been seeing a lot more junglers take recently, whereas Broxah, he's going straight to mid.
Well, there we go. Early flash already at level 1 to get out of the duet.
Yeah, they saw Broxah on this pixel ward right here in the river. However, they had just used Candy's distortion in a trade with Caps, so that's an early flash in this assassin matchup. could easily be tilted the other way. Bebe now walking to top scuttle, also revealed, and they will have tracking on him for the time being.
All right, so splitting the map thus far. Brox is going to get that Sentinel as Bebe just starts. Going to trade the Gromp as well. And then we're going to take a look at how the lane setup continues to play out. Caps always on the aggressive, always playing on the front foot. But if we check down the bottom lane, Rekkles and Hilly, they're pushing into Stitch and Koala for the time being, although it looks like it's bouncing back.
Exactly. I like this ability for Fnatic to force the map split. When you invade with your jungler to the enemy blue side like this, you can cut off any sort of support for the bottom lane. So Fnatic taking the camps on the bottom half of the map here with Xin Zhao allows both Caps as well as their bottom lane with Rekkles and Hylissang to have that security.
That's allowing them to play all the way forward. Take a quick glance at Bwipo and PK. They're trading for the time being. This is the half of the map where GRX have that little bit of an advantage. Bwipo is being pushed in, manages to get a lot of damage down with the Death's Hand. This is very close to a solo kill, but the minions are going to do so much work if Bwipo sticks around. Take a look for the javelin toss. Here comes Bebe. Can jump under the tower. Death's Hand and a tower shot helping out Bwipo. And PK was too low to stick around.
Yeah, Bwipo does still have his flash, so difficult to try and land a spear or anything. The only way you commit to that is if you know he's low enough to just go for the Q as far as the execute, and that is going to be enough to ward them off that possible dive.
So Bwipo is just going to reset, go back to base, TP back in. PK has just done that as well and picked himself up a health crystal, but he's already built himself up a pretty healthy early game lead. And you got to remember that as the Scion, you don't have a huge amount of wave clear, but thinking more about the draft, it was clear that Fnatic, they wanted that extra bit of AP damage. They wanted to have that threat on the other side, and that's why they locked in the Swain along with its flexibility. Now Fnatic spot lane, they tried to go in, but Hylissang, he missed.
Yeah, cheeky usage of that melee minion all the way up front, using the stand behind me. Doesn't find the target, but I like what I'm seeing from Bebe already. In the previous game, there was some expectation and pressure on him to step up in the early stages of the game. And as GRX and Fnatic split the map for the first 5 minutes, Bebe now finds himself looking for a javelin toss onto Caps. There's vision provided by Candy, so could be like shooting fish in a barrel if Bebe can find the right target.
Yeah, Bebe sticking around behind the Raptor ward here. Broxa now does have vision on him. Pop the ward, though. It looks like they are going to go for the decent skirmish, rotating both supports through the river, but nobody committing.
Kobe, you can feel the tension building, but neither team willing to commit just yet. So playing patient, playing a little bit cautious, and Rekkles is able to pick up that Sheen and use his teleport back into lane with a very advantageous start.
Exactly, they're trying to keep up the pressure here. They push the minion wave hard from the very beginning, using this teleport very quickly to make sure he has an item advantage. There's no way for Stitch to get similar combat power right now. They're forced to stick here and try and shove this lane out.
I completely agree with you, Kobe. And that's one of the advantages that you have of the TP, but of course the combat summoner of the heal will be much more valuable if they were to go for the all-in 2 versus 2, which you would imagine Rekkles and Hylissang will want to avoid for the time being. But in terms of this early game, things have been relatively slow. No huge plays have been forced either side, and if we're looking at who you expect to make the more aggressive early game playmaking, it will be GRX. With the LeBlanc, with the Zyra Khan, especially when these level 6s come through, is when I want to see Bebe trying to force something with his lanes.
All right, I'll keep my eyes on his positioning. For the time being, he's up at the Crux. And looking at the CS discrepancies, 8 or 9 advantage for Bwipo, around 10 for Rekkles. And even in the mid lane, it is very, very close. But Bwipo's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Forced to throw down the ultimate, and now he's looking to escape. Looking to turn this around. The burst is available. The soul's on there. Flashing under the tower. Unable to find the kill, but he doesn't get caught by the javelin either. PK flashes to safety. Bwipo wins a 1v2.
Bwipo stands tall in that 1v2. Really wanted the explosion damage right there. Not close enough to finishing off either of them, but in the end, he also got the flash bottom lane.
Oh, Rekkles gets knocked up into the air. There's no summoner heal, remember. They managed to pick up one before Stitch takes down Rekkles. Defensive flash from Hylissang as Caps is looking for Stitch. It's a flashless bird, a flightless bird, a stunned up bird, and Caps will be able to pick this up. That's 3-1 in kills for Fnatic.
Very close right there. An extra minion is close enough, though. Hillsang doesn't take that tower shot. Fnatic do get the extra kill back from the rotation down bottom. Candy now, the straggler, looking to clean up.
Oh, let's see. What has he got? Flash and Ignite available. Needs to pick the right target. Dun, 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 dun. Hunting. Gonna come under the tower. 200 hit points, and Candy unfortunately picks the wrong target. His ultimate was on cooldown. Wasn't willing to commit the flash, and Hilly escapes with his life.
So we talked about Fnatic's bot lane not looking for an all-in, and honestly, this is just a big mistake from Reckless. He doesn't respect the positioning of the feathers. Hylissang is forced to do everything he can to keep him alive, and while they are able to get themselves first blood, it looks like Stitch is going to get 2 kills. Fortunately for them, Caps roams down, and while that's all going on, Brox is roaming up towards the top side of the map. He's like, oh, hello PK, you've got no flash, so you're going to die. He burns his summoner spells, he finds the execute, and Fnatic, 7 minutes in, find themselves 3 kills.
What a big, big change of events here. Huge early game now for Fnatic. Reckless, after that, getting back, purchasing his tier as well for the Ezreal, but top lane again, we've got more action.
All right, Visions of the Empire comes out. The Druid actually finds a stun, and that allows the Swain passive to pull PK backwards, but there's not enough damage just yet. It's a Negatron Cloak and Mercury Treads for Cap, so they decide not to go for the dive.
And while we had to talk a lot about what happened, we didn't get to properly appreciate the fact that Bwipo, in a 1 versus 2, was able to get away with his life.
Oh, I appreciated it.
I mean, but truly
Not
appreciate the
just
fact
get away with his life, make them run for their homes.
And that's all that bot lane practice that he had throughout the year. It was constantly the Swain Pike down at the duo.
I like it. I like
it was
brought it together.
So now Bwipo looking for another 1v1.
All right, let's see if we can do it this time round. Got that Demonic Ascension available. Here comes the Vision of the Empire. We're just following the rundown. Now, PK's got the ultimate. If he needs to get that extra burst of speed, Bwipo's going to step all the way forward, pulls him backwards to the passive, the burst, and the 1v1. And that's all his solo queue practice in top lane, helping him out in that regard,
It certainly is. Bwipo, he gets himself a solo kill, and this is the difference between him and Soaz. Soaz is the rock, the guy that is always consistent and will get through the laning phase and will be value later on into the game. Bwipo is the guy that will build leads himself, look to be a carry, and so far in this game, he's found some fantastic play.
Yeah, he really is. And now there's going to be another play set up in the mid lane. Candy will be able to get out of range of the lawnmower. Caps' Vanguard's Edge does not find a target. And just to sum it up, it is currently a 2,500 gold lead in favor of Fnatic, with a lot of it sitting inside Bwipo's hands.
Yeah, right now is a period of time where Xin Zhao is definitely more powerful than Nidalee. There's something with the construction of jungle items. The AP jungle item, Runic Echoes, does not have a lot of power until you complete the whole thing. Sitting on a mana crystal feels extremely bad. You don't get combat stats. Xin, meanwhile, you can get your hammer, your long swords, just fine. Pretty smooth build up to the completion, but once Nidalee does complete the Runic Echoes, it's an 80 ability power item. You get a lot from the completion, and they can then look to play more aggressive again. You'll have a lot more oomph to your spear hits, and can actually fight much better in 2v2 scenarios.
You can also see that Bebe hanging around the top side jungle. He has struggled so far this game to have much of an impact. He's doing pretty well in farms and in terms of levels, but as you say, Kobe, due to the early itemization, he's kind of afraid of going for any early skirmishes against that Xin Zhao. So GRX still looking for an opportunity back into the game. They're at a pretty significant early game deficit, just like they were against Invictus Gaming, but they do still have LeBlanc. They do still have Stitch on this Zyra Khan, and I would like to see now him invest some time to either the mid or the bot to get some kills back on the board.
And of course, while all those shenanigans were going on in the top lane, GRX were able to pick up that Infernal Drake. So it is important to point that out. If the game does go long, it will be beneficial, but it's such a difficult scenario once again when we've seen how confident and how dominant Fnatic have been with the lead.
And look how much magic resistance Caps is stacking here against that LeBlanc to deny the possibility of those kills. This is because he is facing not only an AP assassin opponent in the mid lane, but the jungler is AP as well. And that's one of the bad things about AP junglers. Here we go, though. We might have another fight on our hands.
Yeah, look at everybody waiting in the wings. GRX, look for the counter engage. Hylissang gets tagged by a javelin toss, but once Broxah shows his face and the teleport begins to channel, GRX realize they do not want this fight. Whippo's not done yet. He's won a 1v2. He's won a 1v1. Now is he going to go for the 1v3? Gets rooted up in place by Candy's change, and Fnatic pick him at the teleport. They don't get anything else.
Whippo's like, I5, TPing down here to save you guys again. We're getting something off the back of it. So he's walking underneath the turret. The rest of Fnatic abandon him. He's like, fine. He has to now make his way back and pulls the top side.
All right, Whippo's going to look for a fight here. Got the ultimate available to him if PK decides to stick around, but he doesn't. Instead, the mid lane siege is where it's at. Broxah now fancies his chances in a 1v2, and he just obliterates Candy. Then that smooth item power spike you talked about. Vanguard's Edge goes all the way in. Caps continues to dive. Hilly joins the fray. The stun onto Koala, and they steal away the life from GRX. That's a flash forward from Whippo. Demonic Ascension manages to miss. Not gonna find it with the vision of the Empire, and PK escapes with his life.
Go Speed Racer, go! PK barely able to outrange that one, drives off into the sunset. That is still going to be such a big win for Fnatic, though. They are just winning fights all across the map at the same time right now. Every single skirmish seems to go in their favor. Even though GRX gets some gold back, it's never nearly as much here as what Fnatic are taking.
And let's have a look at how this all kicked off. Broxah, he sees a low health LeBlanc. He thinks, you know what, I think I can take this even in a 2 versus 1. Good use of the ultimate to create a gap, but the Ignite was down, and I believe the red smite as well, and that was enough to secure the kill. Meanwhile, I mean, fortunately, Hillesang was there to help tank up the tower, and with the damage from the Aurelia, who had pretty much completed the Wit's End, you knew you had more than enough damage, and then here it is, the drift away. He walks away with his life.
Yep, that's not a whole lot more. Bebe and PK, they're now looking for a reply into Whippo. He's going to use that stopwatch that he picked up a lot earlier and buying as much time as possible. Broxah is making his way, waiting in the wings for a potential dive.
Yeah, GRX don't overcommit to that. As soon as the stopwatch is used, they saw Broxah coming up on the control ward, so they don't want to stick around to find out what's going to happen later in the even terms. That is a decent cooldown. You know, breaking the stopwatch is something for them because Whippo has just been running all over top lane.
Kobe, it's a 4,000 gold lead for Fnatic. Caps is looking potentially to extend that even further. But I actually asked the stats team to prepare the average 15-minute stats for Fnatic throughout the group stage so far. They've got 100% of the first turrets. They've yet to do it this game. 4.4 KDA at 15, an average of 12 CSD, but the goal difference between their average in this game is even better. And Fnatic, they are setting themselves up for a very exciting rematch with IG later in the day.
And that's exactly what I wanted to follow up on, Trevor. Earlier in the day, we talked about how moving into today, the expectation was that it would be Fnatic and IG fighting for that top spot. And while last time IG got the better of them, everyone was looking at these games as an indication of what is the relative strength of both of these teams leading up to that big matchup. And so far, Fnatic, a strong game 1. Invictus Gaming, they had a strong game 1. And now Fnatic arguably looking even stronger.
It's kind of harsh to say, but this group does feel like top 2 teams just punching bags here on the bottom 2 teams as Fnatic, as you said, just keep on punching through. And this is looking extremely one-sided, much like the earlier games. Very clear line drawn between top 2 and bottom 2 here for the group.
Yep, Fnatic still maintain 100% first tower bonus throughout their 5 group stage games. They're nearly 6,000 gold up. Whippo continues to just bully and beat on PK in the top lane, and now that mid is opened up, Caps and Broxah start making their way down bottom. Let's see if they're going to go for the dragon or if they're going to put pressure on the tower. The tower seems to be the objective for now.
Definitely true. Even though there is plenty of vision here for GRX, even if you can see it coming, there's not a lot you can do about it. They don't have the items purchased yet. That's a good spear that will land and kind of dissuade Fnatic for now because it does buy some time. Candy is level 11 on LeBlanc, was trying to trail through.
Also, no flashes on Caps or Broxah. The Vanguard's Edge was also unavailable for Caps, so Fnatic recognize they can't afford to force this fight. And Hillesang, he protects his mid laner and allows him to go back to base and is working on spending some of that gold. And I do just want to quickly bring attention to the fact that Aurelia's a lot more have been building that Wit's End as a first item. It does synergize very nicely with her passive, and given how often you find AP champions, I feel like that it is a good item for her. Rush instead of the Trinity.
itself is a very gold efficient item, especially, you know, when you get the stacks going. I like that you mentioned the synergy with the passive because that also helps you stack it up quicker. And again, he's facing mid lane AP burst and an AP jungle. So the majority of the early game, everything he's going to be seeing is magic damage. Really does you know, make a lot of sense as far as this game, especially here now. They have so much control that they can take the objectives at their will. Dragon picks up, as well as Rift-Herald started now. GRX actually the ones to get that one quicker. So Mountain Drake and Infernal Drake are basically what they have to show, even though there is such a huge gold deficit for GRX to fight back from. If they can kind of stall out here, maybe they can rely on some buff power later.
And it's just showing where Fnatic's priorities are. They're looking for the kills, they're looking for the towers. They actually haven't made any motion towards the Dragon whatsoever, so when Fnatic backed away, GRX, they did take the objectives they could, but at what cost? Because of course Rift Herald was secured by Broxy, he's got that in his inventory, and I'm keeping my eyes on where he decides to drop Shelly.
And the thing is, Fnatic are willing to give up that Dragon because Mountain Drake only gives value to GRX if they are able to auto-attack turrets or, you know, auto-attack Baron. If they aren't able to get damage on these objectives, then it's not going to help you out. And
Kobe,
as of right now, not looking like it's going to be
the game isn't going to go long enough for Fnatic to believe that Infernal and Mountain will matter, especially when you see the way they're tower diving, where they're moving around the map. But this bottom outer turret, most definitely the target, at least for the rest of Fnatic as they were making their way down. Then Caps decides to roam back to the mid lane, and it's just chipping away at each of the objectives. Caps survives for a few seconds longer and hit Bebe one more time as Fnatic secure their 9th kill of the game. Now they turn their attention to Candy. He's running low on mana, but here comes Koala. Gets a knock-up as well as at least a reply back, I think, with the Ignite. Hylissang's in a little bit of trouble, and GRX, they trade 1-for-1.
And that is a 4-kill shutdown for GRX in the 1-for-1 trade. So to their favor, they do get those rewards. But again, it does feel like Fnatic are just pressuring so hard, and they're kind of playing this play because of the lead that they have been able to accrue.
And now there's only a 1,900 goal difference between the two mid laners, so the gap is definitely starting to close, but unfortunately the deficit is so huge. You can see here, with the amount of damage reduction that Caps has from the W, he soaks up a lot of the initial burst from GRX, but then he takes a lot of tower shots. And fortunately with the Ignite down and with Caps going back in range of the tower and taking another tower shot there, it allows Candy to punish him and find a shutdown kill. And
for GRX, those are the types of very small wins that you have to look for, that you have to continue to try and count on. So it's definitely an opportunity that they need to jump on. So good job there for them punishing Fnatic and getting that shutdown. There are more shutdowns for them to try and grab.
Yeah, absolutely the case. GRX are still 7,000 gold behind. Baron is now a objective to contest. You can see Fnatic shifting all of their vision to the top quadrant. But while we have been chatting about those previous few kills, the bottom turret has fallen, the top turret has fallen. It's 3-0 as far as those objectives are concerned. And for Fnatic, they're very content. They're playing a little bit fast and loose, but they've got the advantage. They've got the team composition to do so. And you can see, it feels like every time Caps is on screen, he's posturing for a kill. He's threatening some sort of dive. And it's just, it's very suffocating to play if you're on the side of GRX, and they've just got to try to hold on to these inner turrets as long as possible.
Now, what we did say earlier about Fnatic is that, ooh, hang on, a bit of an engage.
Yeah, very nicely done, the flawless duet. It interrupts the quickness. There goes the Vanguard. Caps dashes all the way forward. Koala escapes with his life for now. Not long enough. Reckless snipes him down. You can hear Busan cheering in the background. The Rift Herald was summoned. It got a good charge onto that inner top turret, but Fnatic is starting to back away. Here comes PK, throws down the unstoppable onslaught. Hylissang chucks out the Glacial Fissure. So far, he's the first to fall. Now Broxer looking for stitches. Whippo chases forward. The Demonic Ascension burst blows up the GRX HP bars, and Bebe escapes for now. But the tower will not be long for this world. In actual fact, Bebe pounces forward into Reckless's waiting hands, and GRX with a delayed ace.
And Fnatic, they shut down everyone on the side of GRX. It was Hylissang that started that one off. He got a little over-eager. He went in while the rest of Fnatic were going out, but ultimately that was the catalyst to allow Fnatic to walk over towards the Baron and secure another objective.
We're in for a pretty quick day, gentlemen. This is another 22-minute Baron. This is the third game in a row that's been very one-sided, and Fnatic extend that goal lead even further.
You know, and the funny thing is, Quick Shot, I still believe that the final game of the day is also going to be quick just because of how they like to play. But we can see here that Koala, he's just trying to interrupt the Rift Herald spawning. And with that ulti down, Caps is like, okay, he's squishy enough, I can dive this. A good ulti from Reckless on the back end secures the snipe, and then they start to disengage.
Yeah, and the only reason they do that is because they want, you know, the split push here from Whippo. He has teleport ready, though, so when Hylissang goes in, they can still have a good outcome because Whippo teleports into the middle of the entire GRX team, flashes forward on the Swain to keep this tower dive going, and they're able to clean up the rest of the members.
And of course, that replay brought to you by Esports with Reckless getting the final kill there onto Bebe. 14-4 in kills, 12,000 gold, roughly the advantage for Fnatic. Baron buff secured, and Fnatic are sieging in multiple lanes. Bwipo, with the rest of Fnatic, took that top inner. Bwipo is now pushing down bottom. The middle inner has already fallen, and Fnatic are just looking to go 2-0, and then sitting back and waiting and seeing what they can glean from the rest of IG's game.
So while this is definitely a difficult loss for GRX and the LMS region, for Fnatic fans, this builds a lot of confidence. The fact that they're winning with such dominance and looking for another dive inspires you a lot as they move into the rest of the day.
Right now, it's a challenge between Fnatic and IG. Who can win their games harder before the rematch to set up for the Clash of the Titans?
Well, we're going to find out. Koala finds a pretty decent engage with the knockup and the quickness, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage to follow it up. It's a double kill for Reckless, and as PK gets popped in zombie mode, the inhibitor falls as well. Still a minute and a half left on Baron, and Bebe and Stitch, all that stands from a 0-5 record. Fnatic, they've already tower dived, fountain dived once this World's Group stage. They're not going to do it this time round. Instead, the Nexus turrets fall before 25 minutes. Fnatic take down the Nexus, and they set themselves up for a fight with IG. It's like you said, top two, bottom two. There is a very, very clear skill and team divide in this group. And Fnatic have left two very big statements for the LPL's Invictus Gaming.
And the NLSS also talked a little bit about both of these teams looking at their opponents' games in the day to try and glean something, maybe some strategy revealed. But honestly, I don't think we've actually learned that much different from either of them in the early day games here in this stage. That just makes the possibility of surprises later that much more exciting.
Yep, it certainly does. And the one thing I will say about Fnatic is when we compare this team to last year, last year you could argue that they had a more difficult group, but at the same time, they had Caps, who was a rookie. They had Brox, who was also a rookie on the international stage, and they also had a different support in Jez's. Now, coming into this year, we heard it from Brox in his last interview where he felt that playing with the team for longer allowed them to build better synergy. It's not just a lot of individuals now, they are a stronger team. I feel like what they have demonstrated is that they are a much stronger and a much more grown Fnatic compared to what we saw last year.
Very interesting to see whether or not Fnatic and IG can rein in the excitement and the chaos when they face later in the day. But before we get there, we're going to head to the State Farm analysis to break down the result.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Blazing fast game for Fnatic here. Sub 25 minutes in their victory over GRX. Again, checking the boxes on their road to facing IG at the end of the day. They want that #1 seed.
Of course, it's the best team I've ever seen in the last 24 minutes. And they delivered. What a performance. There we go. We all hype.
Yeah, very much so. Let's take a look at some of the early action in the top lane, out of Whippo in particular. This guy comes in off the bench in place of Soaz with the Swain. I love the aggression that he approaches every matchup with.
And it feels like you can't go wrong, whether it's Soaz, whether it's Whippo, whether the fact that people keep coming out and trying to dive this guy, and he keeps turning 2v1s on their head. I believe this is like 2 games back-to-back where Whippo's like, no, you're stuck in here with me.
Yeah, nearly getting the dive kill. The sign eventually died. Then later he's able to get the solo kill. And this is one of the differences between him and Soaz. They said it in the cast. Like, Whipple played a lot of Swain in a different lane during the summer split, but he's also able to pull it out top lane. So you get more aggression, which has its highs and also its lows. This game, we saw all the highs.
Yeah, we saw during playoffs, they would always start with Whippo in the best of fives, but if they ended up losing a game, they would then take him out and actually sub in Source instead, because Source is still considered like he's the veteran up in that top lane, and when you have these kind of plays where you are going all in all the time, it's great against a team like GRX, but it can really backfire against a team like IG.
Do you think it's more so to have Soaz's veteran voice behind stage with the coach in terms of like how you would pivot or what you would pivot on versus him being able to glean something from the 1v1 matchup, so when he goes in, he now has the secrets figured out?
I think that definitely helps. It's a kind of jungle strategy we also see from a lot of teams where they leave the smarter jungler backstage for game one so he can learn the pathing and get subbed in. I think with Source it can be the same. But it's also, if you don't have to use Source and you can give Whippo as much experience as possible on stage and playoffs, you're going to do that as Fnatic because he is still one of the guys you're building around for the future.
I want to keep building on this conversation in just a moment. Before we get back to it, though, we have to recognize our MasterCard player of the game. Whippo played phenomenally, but Caps is the one who earns the honors in that blind pick Aurelia domination in the mid lane.
And he definitely has his work cut out for him because he is looking at Rookie at the very end of the game. So I like the fact that Caps already feels like he's warmed up. Like he stretched, he kind of shook out some of the jitters, he went for the hardcore plays, and he is not backing down today.
Yeah, so much confidence they put on him in the draft phase, just locking the Aurelia before even counter picks could be banned out. And then he smashes with it.
Twice now. I'm a little bit, like, I'm hyped, but I'm also a little bit concerned because he's
Of course you are.
super greedy today. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because it's against two weaker teams he's doing it, but like he almost died when we won to Rio.
I mean, it's becoming pretty clear with an average game time of 27 minutes and 29 seconds through 3 games. The difference between the top of this group and the bottom of this group is larger than in any other group here at Worlds.
All right, so because that kind of gap exists between the top 2 teams and the bottom 2 teams, I want to continue our discussion around Fnatic versus IG. And in particular, continue this discussion around which top laner Fnatic might want to use looking ahead to that 6th game of the day. Let's continue talking about Soaz, Whippo, where and when these guys should be used, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages?
I mean, personally, as the LPL representative, I'm actually more afraid of Soaz, although I can understand why you could lean towards Whippo, because if you think it's going to be the Shy, you can pick up Whippo, you can go for something like that Swain pick, and maybe you feel like you have a bit more of a 1v1 edge there, but I feel like Soaz has that in spades anyway.
Yeah, if you look at overall composition for Fnatic, you don't need 3 carries. In League of Legends, you can do more than fine with just 2, especially when it's your AD carry and your mid laner. So what I like about Source is that he will always take the tank. He will always accept that he's not going to be the focus, and he provides a much bigger voice when it comes to saying what is maybe the smart play. Whippo's comes a lot more of, let's go fight, let's kill this guy, let's kill that guy.
Yeah.
And while you do get the flexibility of a few more carries for Whippos, I think some of the things like Swain, if they absolutely need a top, Source has played stuff like that in the past. It's just not what he's playing right now. But I like when you have Caps and Reckless to focus on a tank top laner and then just play around your mid and bot lane, and that's where Source slots in very nicely.
Yeah, so like strengths and weaknesses, I think Whippo's a stronger laner than Soaz, and Soaz is a stronger team player and with more experience. And what was really interesting to me about this last game is that Reckless picked Ezreal into the Xayah instead of going with something like Kaiser Leona. So if you're going to do that strategy, I think you want Whippo in there against IG.
Because you're taking away power from the ADC.
Especially if you're trying, with IG trying to play such powerful lanes. If you're not going to opt into the skill matchups bottom lane, you're going to be more on the back foot, and you need the top side of your map to do more.
I want to add in just one last point here. EU top laners actually felt like Source was as good, if not slightly better, in the laning phase than Whippo. He's just not as aggressive. That is really the difference. And you can then argue, being more aggressive, does that make you better or not?
It'll make your numbers better.
It will definitely make you, in good games, it will make your numbers better. In games where you get camped, you will not look as good.
Frosk, final thoughts on this point. You said you're more afraid of Soaz, and is that because of the control that he lends to the game?
It's because of the team fighting. Invictus Gaming are very weak at team fighting comparatively to the other LPL teams. It's something that they've always been exploited for, and I feel like Soaz is the stronger team fighter. And so if they are playing Braum Ezreal, it tells me that maybe they're taking a defensive bot lane and more so looking towards either top topside or 5v5. So I actually lean towards hyperscale, teamfight 5v5 is the win condition for Fnatic.
Yeah.
Final point.
I also think Soaz has the potential to solo carry a game. That's what he did against RNG in the quarterfinals last year. So if you're talking LPL, they respect Soaz.
Yeah, we've even seen some monster performances in losses out of this guy. So we're stepping away. When we return, 100 Thieves face off against Invictus Gaming. We'll see you here after the break.
Actually, it's an upgraded version of Matt's support. It's not K, it's PK.
Still got the first bottom play.
Oh, Reckless gets knocked up into the air. There's no summon to heal, remember. They managed to pick up one. Vanguard's edge goes all the way in. Caps continues to dive. Hilly joins the fray. The stun onto Koala, and they steal away the life from GRX.
I'm no flash.
They're getting low side, no summoners.
I'm flashing forward. I'm tanking. Tanking one more. I dropped aggro. Nice one.
Well, we're going to find out. Koala finds a pretty decent engage with the knockup and the quickness, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage to follow it up